Right. Shalom. Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shai Hashem, Wakar Kadash, Barakatham to the elders and apostles, Wa'akim, Wa'akwa, I say Shalom. And this is a prophecy update as of October 2nd, 2025 on Thursday night. And this was a news article from the Washington Post. As we've been seeing, for the past couple of weeks, definitely seeing, upwards of people in the world, like it says in the book of 2nd Esdras, 9 verse 3. Especially with this protest that been happening over there in the Middle East, and they even having a large amount of people around the world rising up against the Israelis because they had stopped a boat that was supposed to be shipped to the Gaza Strip for food aid assistance, I believe, for aid assistance, and I believe they had stopped the boat, and they had a large amount of protesters. They've been arrested in different parts around the country, so they are in the taking an uproar about they protesting against the against the IDF because they had stopped a boat because they thought it was kind of suspicious. But come to find out, it was a boat filled with food and items that be to to help assist Palestinians over there because they're going through a hard famine. And keep that in mind. I believe like last month they declared a famine over there in over there in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip over there in the area. As the tensions between the Israelis and the Palestinians are increasing over there in the area throughout the whole region of the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, the Palestinian territory, throughout that whole region. And you still got military operations taken by the Israelis over there in that region. So the tensions are only going to continue to increase between both sides, despite the fact they agreed to a ceasefire deal. So till then, the tensions are only going to stir up on both sides. And I just want to add a side note to that. And this is a news article from the Washington Post today at 10:41 p.m. Eastern Time. It says the Moroccan's youth-led protest demanding better schools and hospitals. Prime Minister resigned. And the Prime Minister resignation. It says a youth-led demonstrators in Morocco took the streets for a 6th night despite fears of violence, and 3 people were deleted by security forces. Upwards of people in the world. It says U.S. and Korea agrees to expand drone cooperation as North Korea doubles down on the UAV. Right, because you've been seeing, throughout the years recently, tensions have been expanding and been increasing between North Korea, South Korea, Japan, United States, which is only going to continue to increase. It says the Israeli Navy ship intercepted boat attempt to break Gaza blockage and arrest activists. Right, because you have activists, protesters backing, the Palestinians because what the Israelis did intercepting that boat. was supposed to be a lot of food and items that were supposed to be sent into, to the people of the Gaza Strip. Mhm. All right, bring up the book of Luke 21, verse 25. And I'm going to RT.com. And this is the book of Luke 21 and verse 25. It says, "There shall be signs in the sun and the moon, and upon the earth the distress of nations will perplex seers born." Right, especially with these rising protests that have been taking place throughout the Middle East, which is Western Asia, and different parts around the world, here in the United States and around the world. So that's signs of, the distress of nations and the uproars of people world. Like it says in 2nd Edison, verse 3. It says, "There shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars upon the earth, the distress of nations will perplex the seers born." Right, as we're seeing. And this is the book of St. Mark, chapter 3 and verse 24. It says, "And if a kingdom be divided, except the king cannot stand." Right, especially here in America, which is this modern day kingdom, we see, the nations are being divided, especially with these protests, seditions and uproars here in this country, in this modern day kingdom, and especially from a political standpoint as well too, as we see in the government shutdown for the second, I would say like for the second day, as entering this third day as well too. So we got the liberals versus the conservatives. They being division, they being divided on certain issues, especially from a political standpoint. It says, "And if a kingdom be divided, except the king cannot stand." Right, and on top of that, you got citizens are rising against their leaders of power due to unrighteous creeds. What's that in Isaiah 10 verse 1? It says, "And if a kingdom be divided, except the king cannot stand." So you're gonna have a kingdom within itself being divided, and then outside of another kingdom being divided, it's another kingdom, and that's what we're seeing that Yahushua spoke about. St. Mark chapter 3 verse 25. "And if a house be divided, so the house cannot stand." Right. So we're seeing the houses of the nations are being divided. That's what we're seeing. St. Mark chapter 3 verse 26. "And if Satan rises against himself, be divided, cannot stand to have an end." Right. So if Satan rises against himself, be divided, cannot stand to have an end. That's what we're seeing. So the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 6. "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars." Right, just like I got that news article between, say, South Korea and the United States agreed to expand new drones on the ongoing intentions that they have against North Korea. So tensions are only going to escalate between those nations. And then you got the Russia-Ukraine situation that's heating up. And all these tensions are increasing between these nations, especially Russia, Ukraine, the European Union, NATO together going against Belarus and Russia. You got tensions down there in Latin America between the United States armies versus the Venezuelan armies. It says, "Ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must first come to pass, but the end is not yet." Matthew 24 verse 7. "For nation shall rise against nation, which goes into ethnos, and kingdom against kingdom. And there should be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places." Right, so we see in these modern day earthquakes, because I believe it was a 5.8 earthquake over there in Santiago of Santiago of El Trado. I think that's the name of it. Argentina. I believe that was a 5.8 earthquake. And then we've been seeing increasing various of earthquakes been increasing on a daily basis. And we're going to be seeing modern day pestilence are increasing. These modern day famines are increasing. And the increasing of the kingdom against kingdom and nation against nation on top of that as well too. And the modern day of wars and rumors of wars that we hear increasing on a daily basis that Yahushua spoke about. Matthew 24 verse 8. "All these are the beginning of sorrows," right? Biblical signs that we'll continue to see increase seeing our world today. Was that 2nd Edison, verse 6? "The Heavenly Father is going to show us a plain beginning and wonder and powerful works and the effects of signs. He's showing us signs upon the earth And he's showing us the signs around the world as well too. He's showing us signs in the skies as well too. Right. It's the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 3, verse 1. It says, to everything there is a season and a time for every purpose in heaven. Right, so we're living in modern day times and seasons and every purpose in heaven, which is modern day biblical signs and the signs of times. Ecclesiasticus chapter 3, verse 8. And a time to love, and a time to HATE, and a time of war and time of peace. Now, it's going to be times where, in certain instances, there's going to be time of love, then sometimes it's going to be time of HATE, then it's going to be time of war, then times it's going to be time of peace, because that's the balance, the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, like it says in Ecclesiastes 12, verse 14. But as of right now, at the moment, we're definitely living in the time of HATE and the time of war, which is only going to continue to increase, and that's what we're seeing. And this is Jeremiah chapter 51. It's the prophet Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 46. It says, At least shall hear a faint, ye fearful rumor that shall be heard in the land, and a rumor shall come up 1 year after that, another year shall come a rumor by the land, why is the land rule against ruler? Right, that's what we're seeing, modern day rule against modern ruler. Right along with that, Matthew 24, verse 6 through verse 7. Let's see some more news articles.
With less burning, itching, and pain from moderate to severe psoriasis. Imagine being a million miles away. With Truvada, clear skin.
Let's go to RT.
Most people saw 100% clear skin that stayed clear, even at 5 years. Serious allergic reactions and non-squeezing infections and other problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infectious injuries.
It says Putin accused France of privacy. Putin hails bravery of U.S. national who was deleted fighting for Russia. It says Putin compares the ideology to modern West to the USSR. It says Russia can't afford to be weak. Putin has mentioned. Right, that goes to that Joel 3 verse 10, let the weak say strong. Yeah, that's what we're saying. And it makes perfect sense because you're still going to have tensions are heating up between Russia versus NATO, while you have the Russia-Ukrainian situation taking place as well too. It says India will never tolerate humiliation right from the United States, especially potentially that the United States going to use economical sanctions on India and Russia. That's why we've been seeing the lines between China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, India, and all these other nations that start to be allies with Russia, And that goes into that Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, because Russia is going to be a god to these other nations, going against the Western countries and the IDF as well too. Time of Israel. See news going on. It says the Manchester attacker named. It said suspect attacked small hatters because they wore small hats. The suspect, 35-year-old, was a British citizen of Syrian descent, Aram, because that's their biblical nationality, Aram. It says reportedly allowing the protests of small hats, protests against the small hatters versus the IDF and the small hatters to proceed the same city of the attack within hours of unfolding. It says two were unalive and 4 seriously injured in a small hat area when the individual who did that was unalive. It says a assailant rammed his car into worshippers, then stabbed them, and tried to break into a crowd of small hatters. Officials yelled suspect had a BOMB police presence boosted. the small hats area of worship across the UK. What's that? Ishmael Shelby is a wild man. But I'm gonna just bring up that Matthew's 24th chapter. You know, I just want to speak in code, just like the elders and apostles. You know, the elders and apostles told us to, speak in code in certain situations, especially when it comes to those small hatters. Matthew's 24 and verse 12. Because iniquity shall abound, the love makes you wax cold. Right, so because iniquity shall abound, the love makes you wax cold. And especially when we're seeing the love making you wax cold among the nations, and that's what we're seeing around the world. And especially at Luke 21, verse 25, it says, there shall be signs in the sun, and the moon, and the stars upon the earth, stress of nations will perplex Caesar's born. That's what we're seeing. And this is from the Apostle Paul, wrote to Timothy's. It says, 2 Timothy 3 verse 1, this know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. Right, we're seeing the beginning stages of that. It's the book of Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah, Salakia. And this is the prophet Isaiah chapter 45 verse 7. It says, I form the light, I create darkness, I create peace, I create evil. Yahweh does all these things, which is the Heavenly Father. He does all these things. So he creates the light, he creates darkness, he made peace, he creates evil, because he's, the Heavenly Father. He does all these things because he's a righteous, boundless, just power. And this is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 12, verse 14. It says, for Yahweh shall bring every work into judgment, and every secret thing, whether it be good, whether it be evil, right? Because, as I mentioned again, the Heavenly Father, he's a righteous, righteous, boundless, just power. So he brings to work into every secret thing, whether it be good, whether it be evil. So he's balanced, righteous, balanced power.
You pay for the regular membership, not the plus.
I pay for both of them.
I can't get online for 2 days.
Probably got to check the network connection. Yeah, so you got to go to the settings, then go to the network connection to reconnect.
You help me do that one.
Good.
Check it, because
I'll check it for you. So I'll be there. All right. All right. It says Hamas solicited response positively to Trump's Gaza plan, but requests change source say. Right, so we're going to see if they're going to respond, because Trump gave them about 2 to 3 days to respond or face consequences, according to the Trump administration. As I quoted him, he mentioned it day before yesterday. It says police used tear gas and water cannons in the Gaza protests in Geneva. It says, yes, I'm leaving it at that. It says, it says Hamas fires 5 rockets from Gaza and the York camp, triggers, sirens, and Ashdod. No injuries. This must have been recent, especially with the latest of the Israelis stopped the food aid to be stopped. Especially they caused an uproar and a protest been taking place around the world as well too. Yeah, it says Hamas fired 5 rockets from Gaza and the Yom Kippur triggers, a sirens and Ashdod. No injuries report. The IDF says 4 projectiles intercepted and 1 hit in the open area. Gaza health authorities said dozens killed by the Israelis. Officials seriously wounded in the attack in the army post. 5 rockets was launched from Gaza, from the northern Gaza Strip. in the coastal city of Ashdod on Wednesday evening during a Yom Kippur in a barrage later claimed by the Hamas group. Meanwhile, on Thursday, an officer was seriously injured and 2 troops were likely hurt in an attack on the armed post in central Gaza, the military says. According to the Israel Defense Force, 4 of the rockets were launched to Ashdod, were intercepted by air defense, and 1 landed in an open area. It says there were no additional reports. Let's pause that. It says there were no reports of injuries or damage. The attack came on the Yom Kippur at the holiest day of the Small Hats calendar as the IDF Edomites Navy prepared to intercept a large flotilla attempt to break the Israeli maritime blockage on the Gaza Strip. Ultimately, the IDF said that none of the vessels reached the guard post. It says sirens rang out in southern city. Thousands of observants of small hats were in the place of area, which I'm not going to name, and were secular Israelis took advantage in the deserted roads and highways that took the streets on their bicycles. Videos from today's launch of the rockets by resistance of Gaza from the devastated North Edibit Hadiyun at Ashdod, North occupied Palestine. Yes, sir. Yep, it says on Thursday, the Hamas group took responsibility for the rocket barrage. In a statement, the group military wing said it targeted Ashdod in response to the target of civilians. Rockets fired from Gaza were once intermediate face of life on southern Israel, but the salvos, especially the long-range attacks with military projectiles, has become increasingly rare as the war has progressed, with the group's launching capabilities hindering by the IDF ground offense. Early on Wednesday, the groups in northern Gaza Strip fired 2 rockets in southern Israel, which intercepted. That was the same thing the Houthi rebels was doing as well too, because they still was solidarity with the Palestinians over there in that region. By the IDF, the attack triggered sirens in the Gaza Strip communities. In addition, several rockets were launched from southern Gaza, north and aid disruption inside in Rafah on Wednesday. Military says the rocket struck a near aid site run by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundations without causing any damage or confounding itself, according to the IDF. Despite the rocket fire, the GHF site opened the Thursday for aid distribution arm added. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Wrap the slash scripture down, close it out. It's the prophet Joel, chapter 3, verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty man, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Right, so we got the Hamas and all the pro-Iranian groups going against the Israel Defense Force over there in Western Asia, and they got the uproars right along with it. Joel chapter 3, verse 9, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, right, the arms of the other nations over there in Western Asia. Wake up the mighty man, as the Heavenly Father is doing on a daily basis. Let all the men of war draw near, let them come up, right over there in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, Western Asia. Joel 3, verse 10, let beat your plowshares and the swords and the pony hooks and the spears, let the weak sound strong. Right, the pro-Iranian groups rising against the IDF throughout that whole region of Western Asia. So with that, hopefully this sit-down lesson was edifying of this recent news article. The recent prophecy updates, I meant to say, as of October 2nd, 2025, on this Friday night. So with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem, Bakar Kadash, rock thumb to the elders and apostles while I give my aqua to next time I would say shalom.